So Russia then had a dual power government split between the newly set up provisional government and the Soviet Petrograd. Both groups advocated for very different causes. The Soviets wanted to withdraw in the war and were willing to give up large grants of territory in Ukraine, Poland, Serbia, and Finland. They finally signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk to formally drop out of World War II on March 3rd, 1918, and a full revolution ensued afterward between the Reds, Communists, and Whites, anti-communists, and West-backed wing. The Russian populace was confused as to what the future held, as the country was divided between the lands for communists, Tsardom, and a mixed economy. So the country was in shambles due to the Russian Civil War going on between the Reds, or the Communist Union, against the Whites, or the counter-communist resistance, and a coalition of many different factions that received support from the West. The Reds, explain who they are, utilize the images of the working class, specifically the blacksmiths, to evoke and characterize the workers that toiled all day in the factories, as well as the peasants of the countryside. It was important to strike a chord within the class struggle without franchising either the peasants or the working class. So this led to the Reds issuing propaganda against the return to Tsarism, encouraging the creation of rebels. The Red Army also caused widespread use of the color red in propaganda during this era. The posters of World War I drew much upon the Russian nationalism rampant in the country, and this tactic continued into the propaganda used throughout the Civil War by both the Reds and Whites. Now, if everyone will follow me in the next room, we're going to go see how Nazi and communist posters were characterized during the interwar period. The time between World War I and World War II can be divided into three time periods of its own: the Civil War from 1918 to 1921, the NEP from 1921 to 1927, and the 5-year plans from 1928 to 1937. What these three eras have in common regarding the posters was the importance of technology. So posters of the Civil War were themed around vengeance, rightful inheritance, and the need for vigilance against class enemies. And so starting in 1919, as part of an effort to win the allegiance of provincial populations, the Bolsheviks sent decorated trains out from the center, carrying activists, pamphlets, and even cinematic equipment. The trains even made their way into the posters, as you can see in several of these posters. With the first 5-year plan, time was measured by the fulfillment of quotas, and this translates into the propaganda. Production goals and timetables offered hope that today's exertions and privations would lead to tomorrow's hopes. The productive theme is clear in this poster that reads 2 + 2 = 5. Numbers are a common element of NEP posters. Another common element is mass production, as seen here in this poster that focuses on lumber production. During this interwar period, the telegraph was instrumental in conveying necessary information towards the creation of each poster. Specifically, Rasta, the Russian telegraph agency, had artists working within the company. Here's how the process looked. So news or information that determined the basic theme of each poster came in over the telegraph system or was culled from the party press by Mayakovsky. A text was quickly formulated, and an artist associated with the Rasta cooperative created a corresponding set of images. During NEP, war metaphors were common. References to the cultural front, mobilization, and work brigades became omnipresent. Each image was generally reproduced between 50 and 200 times within Rasta, and were hung the morning after a report was transmitted or a decree published. In some extreme cases, the entire process took less than an hour.
Well, that may have been how the Soviets did it, but things were different in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
At the same time, when Russia was undergoing a time of rapid change in regime and government policies, a similar change was taking place in Germany. Although on the opposite end of the political spectrum as the Bolsheviks, Hitler was also revolutionary in that he wanted to completely overthrow the current political system, the Weimar Republic. He accomplished this takeover only through his widespread use of propaganda. In its early stage, Nazi propaganda simply promoted lofty ideals such as prosperity, family, and nationalism. Hitler believed that the public was easily influenced and chose to focus on a few main ideas. The images used during this time usually depicted healthy, happy families or men relishing in manual labor. As you can see, this poster clearly depicts three men in military uniforms. The caption translates to National Socialism, the organized will of a nation. This piece of propaganda, designed for the 1932 elections, shows the unity and productivity promised by the Nazi Party. This poster shows the hostile relationship between the Soviet Union and the Nazi Party. Designed and produced in 1918, this poster attacks the Soviet system, stating, "Bolshevism brings war, unemployment, and starvation." Much of the Nazi campaign relied on the attack of their World War I adversaries and the system they promoted.
So over here, we've got a great first example of a communist poster from 1941 titled "The Fascists Took the Route Through Peru," featuring a caricature of Hitler trying and failing to invade the Soviet Union. This was, in fact, the first TOS window poster, referred to as TOS 1. The TOS window posters were an extensive collection of posters produced by the TOS Poster Studio, part of the TOS News Agency, to bolster the war effort at home. On June 22, 1941, as Nazi Germany invades the USSR, the organizing committee of the Union of Soviet Artists opens a poster studio, subsequently approved by the People's Commissar of Defense of the Soviet Union and incorporated into the TOS News Agency. Their production techniques were innovative and evolved fast with the times, but the most common method was to first create a full-scale design to be used as a model for stencil cutters who would prepare a complete set of corresponding stencils. Once these were done, the actual painting of the poster would begin, using one stencil template at a time, and the last step would be to assemble the different pieces. Following their production, these posters would be distributed across the Soviet Union, but also all over the world.
These posters were always very exaggerated in their caricatures and slogans, with many recurring themes appearing throughout them, including the importance of the role of women in the war effort, what people could do to help from the home front, and portrayals of Hitler or Nazi Germany as a raging beast, as well as relations between the United States and the USSR. Okay, so now if you'll step through here, we'll go into the area with our propaganda posters from World War II.
Both the Nazis and the Soviets focused most of their propaganda during this time on nationalism and the glory of work. They also spent enormous amounts of money trying to discredit each other's respective political systems. Soviets called the Nazis fascist and made many comparisons between Hitler and Napoleon. Their propaganda called for Russians to defend the homeland against this foreign invader, one they claimed was trying to destroy their culture and heritage. Nazi Germany, under the guidance of propaganda minister Goebbels, however, focused on the relationship between Russia and her eastern allies. They attempted to show a path of corruption and lies flowing from Russia to the United States. During this time, an enormous amount of anti-Semitism erupted as the party created a conspiracy that Jews across Europe and the United States were responsible for the widespread economic hardships and political turmoil of the time. He used this anti-Semitism to bring together the people of Germany against a common scapegoat. This poster, created in 1942, clearly depicts the promotion of the Nazi attack on the Jews with the caption, "Jewish Conspiracy Against Europe." This poster, depicting English Prime Minister Winston Churchill as a sniper, was created in 1941. This poster is an example of the anti-Allies propaganda released by the party during the war.